One of my pet peeves is the phrase, I don't want to be a burden. And I am amazed how many people talk about a burden. And if we hear that enough times, we believe it and we become a burden. And it is amazing to me that people feel that way, but the reality is that is what people feel like. And rather than, again, dismissing it, what can you do to make the person realize that you're not a burden? I think that it's important for a caregiver to, at some point, to say, I want to do this. Thank you for letting me do this. So that the care receiver knows that you want to do it. When you're in the thick of something and you're upset and your care receiver's upset and everything's just emotional and everything else, and they say, oh, I don't want to be a burden, you know, right at that point, it's really hard to argue. And instead, you need to say, no, you're not a burden, but you need to step away later on and come back to that and talk about that. Because invariably, they're feeling your frustration and anger, so they do feel like a burden. They feel like they're bothering you. And that's just the reality of what's happening, though. The reality is, yes, you are taking care of me. Yeah, that's true. So it's got to affect your life. And I'm sorry that you have to do it, and I don't want to be a burden. Well, if we, at a different point, make the point of saying, I'm glad I can do this for you. If it's a parent, say, you took care of me, I'll take care of you. One of the things with Aunt Flora, I always said that we're in this together. That was the big thing, because neither one of us knew what was going on, and the medical stuff and everything else, and so I would say, you know, we're in this together. We'll figure this out together. You know, can she live in a certain place, and where is she going to live, and it takes all that kind of comforting and support for your care receiver, but from the care receiver's point of view, it's really hard to depend on someone else. And all of us, we'd like to think we can control our voices and and when we're angry or upset about something, sometimes we can't control the voice or the sound of anger, even if we want to. Can't control that impatient sound. So as a care receiver, I hear that. And even though I know in my head you want to do this and you want to help and da-da-da, I can't help but feel like I become a burden, that I'm bothering someone. And it's a really tricky thing, and I was just stunned going through it, that what a difference it made. And I think part of it too is to watch someone, and you know, I mean, our case wasn't as significant as this, but in a case where it's a serious caregiving situation, there's no doubt that your daughter is taking care of you, and she's tired, and she is stressed, and she does have, you know, and all of that. I think we're a parent all of our lives, and so even if your adult children have grown up, you still parent them in the sense that you still want to protect them. I don't want you to have to go through this. I don't want you to. I don't want you to be so tired. How can, you know, that kind of a thing. And that's where that whole burden thing gets all plugged into the middle of it. And my suggestion is that we talk about it and get it out and discuss it in front of, you know, that it's open. So that, yeah, I was really tired this afternoon, but now that I'm rested, I had a nap, I feel much better, and I'm really glad I get to do this. Making a point of saying, you're not a burden. I had the trick of being able to say, I sure am learning a lot. So when she thought that I was getting too overwhelmed, I'd say, well, this is what caregivers feel like, and it's really important that I learn that. So, but I think that for a lot of, even though it, quote, shouldn't be this way, the reality is, you do feel that you're bothering someone, that you're a burden, those kind of things. And so how do we help someone get past that feeling and say, it's okay. And that's not an easy thing. The care receiver has challenges, not just the caregiver. And we made up a little, Bill's going to tell about our group. We've got the Friends of St. John the Caregiver as our organization. And we made up a little prayer card that we have for the care receiver, because the care receiver has a hard time too, a hard time accepting that help. And so that's one of the things we're looking at is saying to the care receiver, thank you for cooperating and accepting the help.